native speakers know the culture. And there are three underlying assumptions behind this argument. First, that as a native speaker, you have an inherent knowledge of your culture that you've been brought up in. The second assumption is that there is something homogeneous called culture that we can nicely package into a shiny course book, ship across the world, and sell to our students. And the third assumption here is that students actually need to learn about the culture in order to master the language. Okay? So we're going in threes in this talk. So these are the three assumptions. Let's talk about weddings for a second. I'm not getting married myself just yet, but my best friend from Poland is. So he's been telling me all about his wedding preparations. And the other day we were talking and he said that they finally found this perfect place for the wedding reception. And they both sure that they want to do the wedding, the reception in this place. However, it's all booked up a year and a half in advance. So I said, well, you know, a year and a half, it's a long time to wait for your wedding. You might change your mind, you know. And I was like, well, why do you have to do it in your fiancé's hometown? Why can't you do it in our hometown, for example? Or why can't you do it in Warsaw or in Kraków? And he was just like, oh, Marek, you're such a foreigner. I was like, what? Me, foreigner? I'm Polish, born and bred, and proud of it. What do you mean? Well, what did I just do right now? And he was just like, oh, Marek, you are a foreigner. You really didn't know that weddings in Poland are always held in the bride's hometown? It's like, no. No clue. Maybe it's time to get married myself. But the point I'm trying to make here is that first, even as a native speaker of a language who spent most of his time living in his country, you don't have a perfect knowledge of all cultural aspects of your country. You might know a lot about the traditions in your particular region, but they might be different from the traditions in other regions of your country, let alone in other countries that speak the same language, right? And second, culture isn't something homogeneous, something that we can easily define and put into course books and ship across the world. Culture is much more complicated than that. And think about it. English is a global language. It's the official language of over 50 countries. So what does culture even mean in relation to the English language? Does it mean British or American culture? Bowler hats and red double-decker buses? I mean, I think it would be really sad if it did. However, if you look at school logos, publicity materials, ads in ELT, school names, course books, this is how we've been selling the English language to our students for the last 50 years. But English is much more diverse than that. It's an international language. And we should embrace this diversity. And we should reflect it in our classes, in our teaching. So, no, I don't think that as a native speaker you have a monopoly on teaching culture or any special advantage. But coming perhaps to the more important, to the third assumption behind this myth, do students actually need to learn about the culture to master a language? I'm also very skeptical. I mean, even if we manage to define what culture means in relation to the English language, which is very problematic, even if we manage to do that, what advantage is it going to give you to know some quirky facts about the British or the Americans and their culture and their traditions and how they use the language if 99.9% of all your interlocutors won't be British? They'll be, in fact, other non-native speakers. I don't think it will give you much of an advantage. It can be fun, definitely. It can be fascinating and super fun. But I'm skeptical whether it actually gives you any advantage in terms of your proficiency. Instead, what I think is really, really important and what we perhaps don't do enough is teaching intercultural communicative skills. What do I mean by that? Well, it's the ability to navigate your way in between a myriad of different cultures, different first languages, different peoples. And this is what our students need to be able to do if they are to be successful users of the English language.
To stay up to date, follow TEFL Equity on social media. We're on Twitter at TEFL Equity, on Google+, on YouTube, and on Facebook. You can also visit the website for free resources such as lesson plans, webinars, and blog posts. And you can also support the campaign for equal professional and employment opportunities for native and non-native speakers.